From humble beginnings to a growing family, every step has been part of the story God is writing here. And whether you've been with us since the very beginning, or today is your very first Sunday, you are part of this story too.
We started at Fairview before the beginning here at Pine Hills Church. Our very first Sunday here was honestly a day where we weren't expecting what God had for us. We had just previously left a church that we left with a lot of hurt, and when we came to Pine Hills, I actually didn't want to be here that Sunday. I didn't plan to go to church at all.
We had some friends who had mentioned Pine Hills to us at one time, and had been months prior, hadn't really considered it, hadn't really looked into it, and just felt God speaking that that's where we needed to be.
Just like the Taylors, we were experiencing a lot of hurt. We went to the same church. We all left at the same time. And again, the same as the Taylors, I really didn't want to go to a church in Fort Wayne. I wanted to be in our community where we could serve, where we could be heavily involved. So that Sunday, we had planned to go to another local church.
So I got a text from Donnie and asking me where we were going. At the time, yeah, we were going to stay locally, and it was like, yeah, just Pine Hills was mentioned, and so yeah, everything about Pine Hills just felt like, right. And I told Holly, I said, I think we're switching it up. We're headed to Fort Wayne.
I just remember walking in that first Sunday to Pine Hills, and the warmth that we felt, the love that we felt. We felt seen, we felt known in this huge church, right? We could have easily slipped in and slipped out, but people noticed us, and that was huge for me. And then of course the kids ministry. What's not to love about it? It was just amazing.
When we sat down and they began service, I felt the Spirit instantly. We were very, very, very broken in that season. I was weary and bitter and just didn't really understand what God wanted to do. Eventually there was a baptism that happened. I have since learned that the kid's name was Zachary. Zachary was in a wheelchair that day, and someone was baptizing him. It was the youth leader at the time. And after it happened, Donnie leaned over and he told me, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to get to know that guy. That guy happens to be our lead pastor, Mark Bawada.
And just everything in that service was so Spirit-filled, so Spirit-led. I just remember being a crying mess and just feeling the Holy Spirit and knowing like, this is where we belong, and God has something for us here, and I didn't know at the time what it was. I remember, towards, I believe, might have been towards end of service, they started announcing that they were thinking about planning a church, and they had narrowed it down to Auburn or Kendallville. And they were just really praying that like God would give them a sign on where they should plant this church.
But after service, most of the group that we came down with started walking out to the parking lot, and one of my boys needed to use the restroom. So I was waiting outside the restroom, and at that point, most of the crowd had, left the building. So Mike was walking by, I was standing outside the restroom, and he immediately noticed I was new. He asked me, if it was my first time coming to visit, and I said absolutely. He asked me where I was from, if I was locally, and I said actually I'm from Kendallville. And just then Jay Nicholas was also walking by, and he starts getting excited. He starts, Kendallville, you're my guy. I said, oh, I take it you're from Kendallville? He says, no, actually we're thinking about planting a church in Kendallville. And I said, man, all right, Lord, I know what you're doing now. I said, man, I don't know if you guys are gonna believe this, but there's about 20 more people out in the parking lot that we're all from Kendallville. We were looking for a new church.
So obviously Pine Hills chose Kendallville to plant the church. Definitely something we didn't expect. And the Taylors, the Pitas, and a couple other families had no questions. That's what we should do. Join the launch team, and something that definitely was not man's plan, definitely God ordained, and it became a church family.
For us, Fairview Fellowship was born out of brokenness, but God pieced every bit of it together to honestly start to bring healing and wholeness to our lives. It's nothing that I believe we would have imagined, but it's perfect in the way that He planned it and the way that He has continued to just move in our lives and help us stand in awe of who He is.
So here we are, 10 years later. I mean, we're still watching God just going abundantly beyond anything we could have imagined. And man, just looking forward to see what else He has in store for us.